Toxic chemicals were openly burned in Area 51, and workers say it left them with serious diseases, while the government tried to keep everything covered up. In 2023, a whistleblower told Congress about a secret UFO recovery program, claiming they'd collected alien technology. And then there's the old Yankee Blue rumor. Alleged Pentagon briefings about UFO crashes and alien bodies that even presidents supposedly couldn't always access. These are horrifying details about Area 51. Several former workers at Area 51 claim the base was the site of serious environmental problems. According to lawsuits, for years, hazardous chemicals like resins, paints, and solvents were openly burned in large pits at the site. These chemicals were apparently used to build classified military aircraft, like the stealth bomber. Workers say they regularly would inhale thick, toxic smoke as barrels of waste were doused in jet fuel and set on fire. Sometimes twice a week. They describe being ordered to climb into the burn pits after the fires died down to stir the ashes. A lot of workers developed serious health issues, like respiratory problems, strange skin conditions that cause these hard, scaly growths, which they nicknamed fish scales, and of course, cancer. Two workers, Walter Kaza and Robert Frost, both died from diseases their families believe were caused by these toxic exposures. Biopsies of Frost's body showed there were high levels of industrial chemicals. When the workers and their families demanded answers, though, the US government refused to release any information. President Bill Clinton personally signed an order keeping the details classified, calling it a matter of national security. Even when the Environmental Protection Agency finally inspected the base, the results were kept secret. The government's official stance is that nothing illegal happened, because officially, nothing happens at Area 51. In July of 2023, former Air Force intelligence officer David Grush testified at Congress that he'd learned about a secret program recovering UFOs. He claimed that it included what he referred to as non-human biologics, and that people had died guarding this information. Grush explained that over 40 insiders had backed his story. He said he requested full access to the classified files but got shut down. And he offered to prove things in private but still hit walls. Naturally, the Pentagon and NASA flatly denied anything like that existed. No UAP retrieval programs, no alien remains, nothing. But Grush didn't back off. He was quoted saying the whistleblower system failed him and that he's kept talking with reporters. No one's produced an alien artifact yet, but the claim that aliens or alien parts being recovered and hidden caught fire all over the internet. And if any place was going to stash something like that, people figured Area 51 was probably a good place. Yankee Blue was the name floating around in UFO circles, tied to a rumor about secret Pentagon briefings on recovered alien crafts. According to stories that surfaced in the 80s and 90s, a small group of insiders supposedly held these Yankee Blue meetings to get top-level briefings on UFO crashes, alien bodies, and what was really going on at places like Area 51. People like John Lear, Bill Cooper, and other big names in the UFO community passed these stories around, saying Yankee Blue was the go-to phrase for these alien crash retrieval programs. There was never hard proof, just a lot of word of mouth passed between UFO researchers, retired military guys, and some anonymous sources, but the idea stuck. They said these briefings talked about reverse engineering spacecraft and that bits and pieces of wreckage, possibly even biological material, had been stored at secure sites like Area 51. Some versions of the story claimed that even presidents only got access to these briefings if they had the right clearance, which supposedly wasn't automatic even for them. During the Cold War, Area 51 was used for weird weapons tests. In the late 50s and early 60s, the US military ran EMP, electromagnetic pulse experiments, near Groom Lake. They were small scale but powerful enough to knock out electronics from a distance. They were trying to figure out how to disable enemy aircraft or missiles without having to shoot them down. Locals sometimes saw these bright flashes in the sky or glowing objects zipping around the test areas, and it didn't take long for UFO sightings to pour in. People had no clue about EMP testing, and some of the lights matched classic UFO descriptions. Sudden movements, weird hovering, and moments where car engines or radios would briefly cut out. It's the kind of thing that if you didn't know what was being tested, would look exactly like some kind of alien technology. There are declassified records now that confirm these EMP experiments happened and that they caused interference with nearby equipment. Some even think the military leaned into the UFO stories on purpose to keep attention off of their real work. In the 80s, the government ran Project 57 near Area 51 to study what would happen if a bomber carrying a nuclear weapon crashed and spread plutonium. They simulated a crash involving real plutonium to see how far radioactive contamination would spread across the desert. The test involved detonating explosives to scatter plutonium particles over the ground. This left serious radioactive contamination in an area called Area 13, right next to the Area 51 test range. Even decades later, the site is off limits, fenced off with warning signs. Cleanup crews found plutonium had spread farther than expected, so some contaminated soil had to be dug up and buried deep in special waste sites. People involved in the project later said it was one of the most dangerous things done at the site. On January 5, 1967, a CIA A-12 spy plane crashed near Area 51 after running out of fuel. The pilot, Walter Ray, had to eject, but his parachute didn't fully deploy, and he was killed on impact. The A-12 was a top-secret aircraft. It was so classified that even Ray's widow wasn't told what kind of plane he'd be flying. She was simply told he was on a routine mission. The wreckage scattered across the Nevada desert, and the CIA rushed to recover every piece before the public could find it. They even used cover stories, saying it was just a conventional jet to keep the A-12's existence hidden. Walter Ray was buried in the desert near the crash site with no public ceremony. The whole thing stayed secret for years. It wasn't until decades later that the full story came out, when the CIA finally declassified details about the A-12 program. Ray's name now appears on the CIA's memorial wall. During the Cold War, the US managed to get its hands on Soviet MiG-21 fighter jets and brought them to Area 51 for testing and study. Programs like Have Donut and Have Idea involved flying these captured jets to learn their strengths and weaknesses. Pilots tested the MiGs against American aircraft to figure out how to defeat them in combat. The jets were flown in secret with no public acknowledgement for decades. Studying these enemy planes gave the US military a major advantage by understanding Soviet technology firsthand. It helped improve American fighter designs and tactics. This was, of course, top secret work. Workers and pilots involved had to keep quiet, and any information about these programs was classified. Even now, the details are sketchy because the government still won't talk openly about what exactly happened during these projects. But what we do know is that Area 51 wasn't just a place for experimental American aircraft, it was also where they dissected and flew Soviet planes to stay ahead in the Cold War arms race. Between 1977 and 1981, Area 51 was home to secret test flights of the first stealth fighter prototype called Have Blue. This was the groundwork for what would later become the F-11-7 Nighthawk, the world's first operational stealth aircraft. The goal was to create a plane that could avoid radar detection. The design looked kind of weird, nothing like the sleek fighters you're used to. It was all about bouncing radar signals away so that enemy defenses wouldn't spot the plane. The tests were done at Groom Lake with intense security to keep any photos or sightings out of the public eye. Flying this new technology was not easy. The Have Blue had serious handling issues and crashed during test flights, but the program pushed stealth technology from theory into reality and changed the way wars would be fought from then on. Even though it's old news now, back then it was cutting-edge stuff, locked away in the desert, miles from anywhere. Nobody outside the program had any clue what was going on. During the Cold War, the US government supposedly ran a campaign to confuse the public and hide new military aircraft programs. They did this by planting fake UFO stories and even photos near places like Area 51. The idea was simple: get people chasing aliens and UFOs instead of the secret planes the military was building. For example, the F-11-7 stealth fighter we just talked about was being developed, and its usual shape was so strange that if people had seen it, they'd probably think it was something alien. So Pentagon officials encouraged UFO sightings and rumors to throw people off. These disinformation tactics worked. UFO stories exploded in the 50s and 60s, and most people didn't realize that many of these sightings were actually secret test flights of advanced aircraft. By focusing everyone's attention on flying saucers, the military bought itself time to develop new technology without interference or leaks. At least that's what some say. I don't know. Maybe this is just wishful thinking on my part, but I think there's still a very good chance there really is extraterrestrial research being done at places like Area 51. And finally, we have this mysterious road near Area 51. A while back, a YouTube channel called Finding UFO put out a video showing some satellite images that might hint at a secret entrance to the base. While scrolling through Google Earth, they spotted a road leading to a parking lot at the base of a mountain. But that road wasn't there back in 1998. Older satellite pictures show no road or parking lot at all in that spot. It's just empty land. So why build a road and parking lot in the middle of nowhere, right next to a mountain where it doesn't seem to lead anywhere? It doesn't make much sense for people to park there and then walk back down the road to get somewhere else. That got people thinking that maybe there's a hidden tunnel carved into the mountain itself. If that's true, what could be going on inside? What do you think though? Is something going on, or is this just people reading too much into nothing? Drop your thoughts down below. I've been your host James. I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.